Yeah, it can be recorded. Oh,
Okay.
you started recording.
Okay, I started recording. Okay, perfect.
Well, okay, yes. You can, okay.
Would you prefer to do it from your end? Either way works for me.
Either way works.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for listening to us talk about recording this presentation because that's what we're going to do. We're going to get started in a few minutes as we wait for folks to join us. I'm also going to record this presentation, Trevor. I'm just going to start recording when we actually start the presentation.
Oh, okay. That
Mhm.
makes more sense. I'm worried about not hitting record. We've done that a few times when we're doing various presentations, and
I
I'll get
see.
halfway through. I'll be like, "Oh gosh, I forgot to hit it."
Oh, I do that when I stop recording in the middle and then start, and then I'm like, oh, I forgot to hit start.
Uh,
Okay, so we'll just get started in maybe one more minute. So we'll let folks have a chance to join us. Thank you all for being with us today. I have the presentation already pulled up, so you should see that you're at the Internships and Experiences presentation. We're going to be talking a little bit about how to find internship and CPT. Yeah, so I'm going to get started in maybe like 20 seconds.
19, 18, 17.
Okay.
Carol, I like your beach background.
Thank you. I need the beach today to help my anxiety.
I think it's helping me to feel relaxed.
I know. I hope it helps folks feel relaxed. I just wanted to also mention that because we're in a virtual environment and the internet might not be that great. If at any time you lose connection, feel free to just click the same link and then you'll be able to come back on. Um, so both Trevor and I are hosts, so we should, if one of us lose connection, the other one should still be on here. So you shouldn't be booted out, but if you do get booted out because you lose connection, you can feel free to join with the same link. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So my name is Carol Huang, and I'm a career counselor coordinator for education and human services with career services at UCSB. And then Trevor, would you like to introduce yourself really quickly?
Yeah, sure. My name's Trevor Brandt, and I'm an international student advisor with the Office of International Students at UCSB.
Thank you. So right now we're going to talk a little bit about internships and experiences today for F-1 international students. If you are a J-1 student and you have questions, these tips also could apply to you, but your visa might have some different types of um, things because we're not talking about J1 like academic training today. We're mostly talking about F1 CPT. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started and talk a little bit about our agenda. So let's see. So today we're going to talk a little bit about why get an internship, what is an internship. Then we're going to follow with talking about some important things that you need to know, as well as curricular practical training, learning a little bit about different search strategies and tools for success, and then talk a little bit about additional ways to gain experience. So the first thing we want to talk about is why get an internship and what you should consider when you're looking for an internship. So the first thing is, what is an internship? Sometimes we throw around the word internship and we're just like, I don't know what that word is. Like, I know I need one, but I don't really know what that means. So what an internship is an educational and formal opportunity where students gain hands-on experience in a specific industry or job type from a company or organization. So it can also be full-time, part-time, paid, or unpaid. And sometimes students ask, what's a good internship? How do I know? Well, a good internship for you is an internship that is a learning and mentorship experience, and understanding that interns really aren't there to be free labor for the company or to do things like bring an employer coffee regularly. Like that shouldn't really be your job as an intern. What you should be doing as an intern is gaining a learning experience and developing skills for your job after graduation or for your future professional development. So that's really what the purpose of an internship should be. It shouldn't really replace another employee's job. It should be a learning experience, a formal experience for you to gain skills and experiences to prepare for your future. And also to help the company out at the same time, right? Because you're learning about them. And then they want you to join the company maybe in the future. Okay. So that's what an internship is. So why should you get an internship? So entry-level positions are very competitive and a degree alone typically won't land you a job. So employers typically want to hire students who have had previous work experience related to their field. So they also prefer to hire candidates with relevant work experience, right? And they do factor in the internship for the hiring decision. So usually students who do well on their internships or in their co-ops will receive a job offer, or they might get converted into a job offer if you do really well in that company. Um, oh, am I doing this right? Okay, hold on. I got a little bit sidetracked. So again, why? Um, why should you get an internship? So there's theoretical and analytical skills that you build through your coursework. So you go to UCSB, you study at a research institution, and you gain a lot of like theoretical knowledge. But the internship is the place where you can gain experience and practice some of those skills and learn about industry knowledge that you may not get in your classroom experience. So internships not only connect you more with like American society and culture, but can also be a great way for you to network with for potential jobs in the U.S. after college. So you really want to use that internship experience to help you find mentors, build your network, gain professional skills. Okay. So, what do you hope to gain from your internship? So, really consider what you want to get out of your internship experience when you're applying. So, apply what you've learned in class to the real world. So, think a little bit about what you're learning in class and how that applies to your potential internship that you want to get. Um, Explore a specific career pathway. Maybe you want to get an internship because you're like, I don't really know what I'm going to do with my major yet. Or maybe you really do know what you want to do with your major, but you haven't actually had an experience that shows you what it is like to work in that field. This is a good way for you to understand whether or not that's the path that you want to take or continue on. It can also help you build important skills, like I keep mentioning. Employers really want students to have really strong presentation skills, communication skills, as well as technical skills. Um, it also, again, allows you to connect with others and network with people in your area. So you might find a new mentor, you might find a new colleague or friend that can help expand your network. And then be competitive for an industry or for grad school, right? So the more experience you get, the more competitive, or not more, I shouldn't say more, because it's not always about the quantity of experiences that you get, but really how those experiences shape who you are and what you have to offer in the future as well. So think a little bit about like if you want to go to grad school or if you want a job in a specific industry that might be really hard to break into, the internship is a way for you to kind of start breaking into that industry or into that profession. And then it helps you also try out an industry or job and see how it fits with your future career goals. So if you're kind of like not really sure yet, or you think you want to do something, but you've never tried it before, it really helps you figure out whether or not you truly want to go into that field or industry. Okay, so the next thing that I want to talk about is UCSB does have a partnership with Parker Dewey, and Parker Dewey offers micro internships to students. So micro internships are basically short-term paid professional assignments that are similar to those that are given to new hires or interns. So these are like project-based internships that kind of allow you to demonstrate your skills, explore different career paths, and build your network. So here's some more information about it, but I know a lot of students are looking for full-time summer internships, but if you're trying to build experience and you're wanting to try like a micro internship just to like see what it's like to work with the employer, this might be a good experience for you as well. Okay. So some important things that you might want to know or think about when you are preparing for your internship search. So how do you be a competitive candidate for an internship? You think, okay, like I need internship and I need to have experience to gain experience. So how do I have experience? Right? That is something that maybe a lot of new students coming to the university or maybe navigating this internship search experience for the first time might be thinking about. Well, the thing that you can do is start building your skills and experience now. It doesn't matter if you are a first year, a senior, if you are, like graduate student, it's really important to continue building your experience no matter what stage in your process or your educational experience you're in. So build your experiences by maybe completing a course project or a group project related to something that you might be interested in. Um, Maybe holding a part-time job that is related to your industry or related to your major. Um, Think about campus org involvement. Get involved in student orgs and professional organizations. These are good ways to build your leadership skills, your communication skills, teamwork, things like that. And then research experience. Get involved with your professors, learn about their research, work on a research project with them, utilize the Faculty Research Assistant Program, or IRCA. These are undergraduate research and creative activities, I think, something like that. Look that up, undergraduate research at UCSB, and then you can find a lot of different research experience to participate in. Or just ask a professor that you're like, you're an awesome professor. Do you have any research opportunities? I would really love to work with you. Those are some ways in which you can start kind of thinking about gaining research experience at UCSB. And then try to maintain a good GPA. Pick courses and majors that you enjoy and that you will do well in. So if you're thinking about grad school, this part is really important because applying for grad school, typically you do want to have a highly competitive GPA to make your application more competitive. Just something for you to think about. And then pro tip, connect more on campus and practice your language skills that will help you build confidence when you're applying for internships and interviewing. So a lot of times employers talk about how, international students have like really amazing technical skills, but where sometimes it's a little bit difficult is explaining how their course projects and how their things are sort of relevant to the employer that they are wanting to join, because they're not able to communicate it maybe in an interview as well as perhaps a domestic student or an English speaking student, because maybe English isn't your first language, right? And so if that's the case, we really encourage you to consider just practicing speaking in English as much as possible and communicating your experiences, so that you can continue to develop those like bilingual skills or multilingual skills, and then enhance like those skills for your future use as well. So something for you to think about. Um, so some things that you need to prepare for when you're applying for internships is really kind of like shape up your application documents. Make sure that they are like on point. Um, so create a targeted resume and cover letter. So every single job that you apply for, you kind of want to have like one master resume or maybe like a general cover letter, but you want to tailor each one. You want to be able to write that document as if like that employer is very special and that you are wanting to let them know why you're the best fit candidate for them, right? So make sure that when you are, um, you know, applying, you are making some of those extra like efforts to connect with the employer. And then put in some relevant experience and information. So you can write a very like broad bullet point about like what you did in your job, but a better bullet point is when you show things on your resume that are directly relevant, that you're using the keywords they're using in the job description, that you're writing in a way that is relevant to their industry, right? So like learn a little bit about how your industry sort of talks, or whatever jargon they use, like learn a little bit of that, and then also see how the jobs and experiences that you have would be relevant or would be important for an employer to know. And then focus on your accomplishments. Like write things on your resume as if like they are all of your accomplishments, and you're showcasing your highlights, you're demonstrating your key skills and experiences to show that you are a very like highly qualified candidate and that you are really excited about the position that you're applying for. And then have someone proofread. Employers do not like grammar errors, and they don't like extra spaces and poor formatting and things like that. But they do like it when candidates really make a thoughtful approach to their job search process. They like it when you label your files correctly, with like your first name, last name, resume. And then they like it when you're easy to identify when they're looking at those application documents, right? And they know what you're applying for, and it's very obvious, right? And so that's always really helpful. So help an employer out by making sure that you have all of your grammar and punctuation and spacing and formatting correct, and kind of it looks like the best document possible. And then consider making a LinkedIn account if you're wanting to connect with recruiters or industry professionals. LinkedIn is the number one like online networking tool for people in the professional world to stay connected and also to talk about their industry. And then utilize resources. So we have a lot of resources. Career services can help. We do cover letter and resume appointments. We also have a video workshop and our website, which is our online career center, with like resume samples, tips, and cover letter samples and all that kind of stuff. So you can utilize those services to learn more about like how to create a really good resume, how to create really good application materials. And then CLAS can help too because they have like writing and language services that are offered via appointment and through Zoom. And so they have like writing appointments so they can help you like edit your documents and materials. And they can also do like, I think they have like language like things. So you can use that like language speaking things. I forget what it's called, but I know they have one of those. Maybe Trevor's looking it up now because I see him on the computer. Um, but yeah, so utilize the services that you have at UCSB. When you're a student, you have abundance of resources, and we're here to help you. Okay, so the next thing is Trevor's going to talk a little bit about CPT as the OISS expert to tell you a little bit about what this is all about.
All right, thank you very much, Carol. So much good information thus far. I actually was not looking that up. I was writing down a note, so I don't have anything for you in that sense. But yeah, I'm going to be talking about curricular practical training, referred to often as CPT. You might have heard of CPT before, as well as something else called OPT, which I'll briefly touch on the difference between those two. CPT, or Curricular Practical Training, is a type of employment authorization for F-1 students that allows you to engage in off-campus work that is specifically related to your field of study, which is another fancier way of saying your major. So CPT is for any off-campus work that would take place before your graduation, and OPT is a separate type of authorization that takes place after you graduate. So very separate processes. We'll be talking today about CPT, but all of our information is on our website. So if you're interested in OPT, you can check out our website as well, or you can send us an email or set up an appointment with one of our advisors. So yeah, for CPT, this is any sort of off-campus internship, or doesn't necessarily have to be an internship, can also just be a normal position. And this can be either paid or unpaid. So the difference between, I get this question a lot, the difference between an internship and something like a volunteer position is an internship is basically what Carol's been describing. It's a way where you're actually getting employment experience, while volunteering is something a little bit more like you are, going to the animal shelter and you're offering to, help take care of some animals. It's not something that you would necessarily put on your resume. And unless you are a bio major, because I do have a student that I work with who's a bio major and she works at a vet office, you wouldn't put that on your resume unless you were specifically volunteering for something that's related to your major. So the second requirement for CPT is that you must enroll in a course that requires an internship. So this is something, they're usually called internship in industry, I believe, for most departments, but your department advisor will specifically recommend the correct course to you that you need. Each major has a very specific course for this. And usually it's a 1-unit course that doesn't require like attendance. It's usually some sort of, you meet with your advisor at the beginning of the internship, and then you meet with them again at the end. And, maybe sometimes you have to submit like a paper that, has, details what you've learned in that internship and how it connects to your major. But every department is different. Definitely talk to your advisor about that. Like I mentioned before, it does have to be the internship or other position does have to be related to your major. So the technical definition is that at least 90% of your duties have to be directly related to the content of your major. And the reason for this is the government considers your CPT employment to be part of your education. And the purpose of CPT is to gain practical knowledge in your field of study. So it's kind of like an extension of your academics. So you will be required to submit a letter from your major or graduate advisor explaining how your internship is related to your major. So if you're confused about whether or not a position is related to your major or not, you can definitely meet with your advisor, meet with your advisor over Zoom these days, or send them an email with your offer letter. Or I suppose if you wanted to check with them before you applied, you could send them the job details, and your advisor could help confirm that the job is related to your major definitively. And then they can help you, once you're ready to apply, they can help you create this letter, and you'll submit that to our office with the rest of your application. So CPT must be part-time or less, or it has to be part-time when school is in session, which is 20 hours a week or less. And then it can be up to 40 hours a week during scheduled school breaks, which does include the summer quarter. Even if you're enrolled in courses, you can still work full-time over the summer. So you'll definitely need to obtain CPT approval before you start your internship from our office. We'll actually be creating a new I-20 for you that lists the employment on your I-20, and you do need to have this ready before you start your position. So we ask that you apply about 10 business days, at least 10 business days before your employment starts. The earlier, the better. Which 10 business days is about 2 weeks. Ideally, it would be 3 weeks. And the reason for that is because if there's any corrections that need to be made, for example, you'll be submitting a job offer letter in order to apply, and sometimes the offer letter doesn't have all the required information. So that's why it's better to apply earlier, so that if there's anything missing from the offer letter, we can communicate that to you, and you can communicate that to your employer. So sometimes, say if you send us an application a couple days before your employment starts, you might have to tell your new boss that you can't start on time, and nobody wants to do that. So the earlier the better. Certain urgent situations, we might be able to be a little bit flexible, but it's very, very rare. So you do have to have at least 3/4 of consecutive full-time enrollment with an active F-1 record in order to apply. So this basically means that if you are a freshman, some of you might have already picked your major, some of you might not have, but if you picked your major and you're really wanting to start an internship, typically, yeah, you do have to wait for at least 3/4 of full-time enrollment before you can apply for CPT. And the last thing I wanted to mention here was that if you start working before you have the correct authorization, then you would be considered out of status, which means that there could be potentially negative visa effects, especially in future visa interviews. So don't risk it. It's not worth it. Work with our office. Will definitely help you to get authorized in the correct way that complies with immigration regulations. So you can check out our CPT application form for a full list of requirements, as well as necessary application materials. And I think I'll just drop that in the chat and link that for you right now. And then you can take a look at it after the presentation if you'd like to. If you have any questions, I think we'll have some time after the presentation. Carol's nodding, so I know that that's true. So you can definitely ask me, or you can always reach out to our office, check out our website, or schedule an appointment with us. So I'll go ahead and drop that link in the chat, and or maybe I'll do that at the end actually, so that you're not distracted, and I'll turn it back to Carol.
Yeah, I just also want to mention, if at any time you're not sure that if whether or not you need CPT, always talk to OISS. One more thing, Trevor, I wanted to kind of bring up is, I know sometimes students get confused on what type of experiences are, that they might need CPT for. Sometimes you mentioned the volunteer one.
Mm.
So CPT typically is for off campus. I also want to mention that. So if you're on campus and you're doing something working on campus or whatever, then yeah, do you want to explain that part?
Yeah, usually on-campus work is anything that's being facilitated by UCSB. If you're being paid, the paycheck would be coming from UCSB. I would say if you're ever unsure, like for example, let's say one of your professors helps you get some sort of position that's off campus, but it's still facilitated by UCSB. If you're ever unsure, it's always best to check with us. There are, we tend to take a bit of a conservative approach, meaning that ideally, we'd like to get you the CPT whenever possible so that you're not risking unlawful employment. So yeah, it can get a little tricky sometimes with volunteer positions, or sometimes if you're like, a lot of graduate students are rewarded grants for different things, and it requires them to, go speak at some sort of a convention, give a presentation or something like that, or write a paper. So if you're ever unsure, just contact our office. Same goes for like a volunteer position. If you're not sure about that, just contact our office and we'll help you sort that out for you.
Mhm. And then earlier, Trevor also mentioned about the 3 consecutive quarters. So one of the things I know that we've previously talked about, it's 3 consecutive quarters at an institution in the US, right? And so if a student attended, like let's say you're a grad student and you previously attended a US institution and you've already had 3 consecutive quarters, then you'd be eligible for CPT. Or if you're a transfer student, then you would be eligible for CPT. So if you are a first year student, then you have to wait until second year, okay? Unless for, I don't know why else, but so there's something to kind of clarify in case you're wondering, like, am I eligible? That's one of the things that Trevor was talking about. Okay, so I guess, yeah, that's kind of all the things. And then I see some questions in the Q&A. For some reason, I can't bring it up right now, so I'm not gonna address them, but at the end, I'll take a look at them and then we can get back to the questions.
Absolutely. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you. Okay, so the next part is how do you look for these internships and how do you search for different opportunities that are available to you? So first, go directly to the employer. So there's a lot of ways to get involved. One of them is to attend a virtual career fair. We just had a couple of virtual career fairs happen over the last 2 weeks. We have our grad day that's happening on Thursday, but we have career fairs every single quarter, usually around like week 3. And so think about some virtual career fairs. A lot of employers or external organizations might also have career fairs, so you may think about attending some of those virtual fairs as well. Employers also host virtual info sessions, so you can look on Handshake for an employer lineup of information sessions where employers will tell you about their organization, what type of positions they have available, and then give you information about how you can apply. Um, that you can also do virtual or video informational interviews. So I recommend students who are trying to build their network to consider reaching out to either alumni or industry professionals that are doing work that they're interested in, and just ask them couple questions about what a day in their life looks like, right? Ask them questions about their career path, their industry, how they got there, and then use that as a way to kind of network and get to know people in your own industry. So that's one way that you can connect with people and then learn more about an employer and their work. And then virtual panels and mixers. So we also host virtual panels and mixers. So they're like maybe like industry chats where we have a couple of professionals come and talk a little bit about their career and talk a little bit about like how do you break into a certain field. Also look on employer websites. So oftentimes employers will have a lot of information on their website with tips for students on how students can apply for their internships and for their entry level roles. And so research their website, research what opportunities they have, and then apply for those opportunities when they pop up. Follow them on social media. Keep like follow them and just keep on top of like whatever it is that they may be talking about or whenever they have like opportunities for students. And then cold call or email works too. So you can maybe not calling, but like emailing, maybe like cold outreach. So what that means is just looking for people that you're interested in talking to, and then either calling their office or emailing their office to try to get connected with someone. That's probably like one of the harder ones to kind of do, but people have done it and they've had success. So that could be a strategy that you can put into one of your options as well if you are someone who feels like you want to do that. Okay, so one tip for you is, research ahead of time to learn which organizations are currently hiring international students with CPT or OPT. So a lot of times you'll find some articles online as well as you can find like a H-1B database that has sort of like a list of companies or organizations that historically have hired international workers. And then that could be a good start for you if you're kind of trying to figure out like, where do I even look? Like who's hiring? You can kind of start there as a list of employers who like has historically hired international students.
I will say, I will chime in briefly and say, definitely don't let it intimidate you. If an employer, either doesn't list that information or hasn't worked with international students before. Thankfully, for CPT and OPT, there isn't too much that the employer has to do. Now, Carol's right about the H-1B. That's a lot more involved for employers. They're actually like sponsoring you for a visa application. So that's definitely a different type of consideration. But CPT and OPT usually pretty easy for the employers. So even if they're unfamiliar or if they're like hesitant to work with you, they say, "Oh, I don't know about that. That sounds like a lot of work." You can definitely reassure them that it's very minimal for the employer. So, anyways, just wanted to not to interrupt you. Just wanted to
No,
chime
no,
in.
no, that's great. Like, thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, it's good to also sometimes help the employer by giving them a little bit of that, understanding that actually you can work with them for the most part. Most employers, you can probably work with them. They might just not be as familiar with the process. So you can reassure them that there's not that much that they have to do on their end, like the university, and you can take care of like most of the, paperwork and process and stuff like that. They just maybe need to look over some paperwork, sign some things, and make sure that they are, following all the regulations as well. So, yeah, so it's good to just like reach out to even like smaller or mid-sized employers to see if they'd be willing to offer maybe like a internship opportunity or create an internship opportunity for yourself as well. Okay. So when you're starting your search, it's really important to kind of think about what kind of positions you might be wanting and kind of narrowing that down. And then think about the qualifications and research the qualifications that are needed for the job that you're kind of looking for, whether that is an internship for first year, second year students to a entry level full time position. Like the qualifications for that is probably really different. And the experience necessary for you to do the internship or do the full-time role is going to be really different from job to job. And so you just want to make sure that you are researching what jobs you want in the future and then kind of maybe work backwards from there. And then what internships are offered right now, like what's currently being offered. So staying kind of like proactive about being aware of like the market, like the internship market, job search market, and all that kind of stuff, and seeing what possibilities might be like the best fit for you, and then seeing if you can kind of steer some of your internship search or job search around that. And then self-assessment, right? Like think a little bit about your interests, your personality, skills, values, and strengths, and also look at your major to try to decide, like, okay, well, what kind of fits with my academic experience? Like, what am I learning in my classes that I really, really like? Can I find a job where I get to do that a lot? What do I personally really like that I spend all my time reading about and I spend all my time, just free time doing? And can I get an internship? Is that related to my academics? Can I get an internship there? Right. So think a little bit about yourself, like what would you want out of your internship experience? And then narrow your search, like make sure that the industries that you choose, the companies, the location, that you are narrowing it down so that you are not like searching the whole entire United States for an internship or maybe even the whole entire world, though you can, but that you do kind of try to narrow your search so that your search isn't so overwhelming. Because I've heard of students, like they put in marketing or something like that in the internship search, and then they get like 50,000 results. And that's a lot for someone to sift through, right? So if you know, okay, I want a marketing internship specifically, I want to do marketing analytics and specific, or maybe you want to do like graphic design or something, and then you write that into your search bar, and then maybe you're specifically looking in regions or cities or types of companies. Like maybe you want to do graphic design at a nonprofit, or maybe you want to do marketing analytics for a tech company, right? So think a little bit about like what type of internship and where you would want to do it, and then look for those locations and then apply. So develop your network, understand the market, understand the industry, and then start your application. Okay, so that's kind of like some of the tips for how you can get started. And then the next part is, when you're doing online searching, you can utilize a different variety of tools. Like one of the tools that we recommend is Handshake because that is for university students, specifically for you and the people who post on there, the employers who are posting on there, they want to hire UCSB students. So it's a good place for you to kind of start with. And then you can utilize like the popular searches section to kind of help guide your search as well if you're just starting out. You can also utilize your department listservs. So when you are looking for different like opportunities, a lot of departments send those out through their listserv. So if you're not signed up for your department's listserv, definitely go on their website or email like their academic advisor because they are usually the ones who, or the undergraduate advisor. Sorry, undergraduate advisor because they're usually the ones who maybe write and send the emails. Okay. And then Vault is a very awesome career tool, but basically what it is, it has a bunch of career guides from like industry guides on like banking and finance and computer science to like lists of 100 best employers to work in or 100 best internships. So if you're looking for more like insight on that, then you can utilize Vault. Going Global is also a really good resource. It helps you learn a little bit more about a global job search. So it gives industry advice for different cities in the US and what the job market or what industries are really popular in those cities and gives you some like cultural advice about like how you can kind of like explore the city and also things like that. And then it also gives advice about like other major cities in other countries as well. So if you're kind of thinking, oh, maybe I want to do an internship in like the UK, or maybe I want to do an internship in Canada or something like that, or maybe I want to do it in, I don't know, some other country that I can't think of at the top of my head, Korea. You can also look for some industry advice utilizing Going Global. I'm just making up random countries, but you know what I mean. Um, so you so you can use Going Global for that. It also has the H-1B database. So if you want to look for the H-1B database, Going Global has that as well. And then general job boards. So you can always use Indeed, LinkedIn, Glassdoor, like those type of job boards for your search. So here are some that I was mentioning: Career Builder, Way Up. Way Up is for folks who are interested in looking for internships. So again, here's some just top search tips for efficient searching. Make sure you use filters. You can filter by location, experience, diversifying your search terms. What I mean by that is that, let's say you are looking for a marketing internship. You don't care if you are looking for graphic design or marketing analytics or search engine optimization or whatever. Like you don't really care, social media, whatever. Like you don't really care. Then you diversify your search terms, utilize a whole bunch of different search terms to get those marketing internships that you're looking for. Um, and then use advanced search options. So if you're able to like narrow down your results by using more advanced search options, then do so. And then set up job search agents. So what job search agents are is like you save a search and then every single time a new job pops up, it will just automatically go into your inbox or into your profile for that particular job board that you're using. So those could be an easy way for you to get updates without you going on to the job board every single day, typing in those search engine or those key terms every single time, but you get that straight in your inbox or straight in your recommended jobs. And then again, you can always search by skills and use skills as your keyword search. And then, as you learn more about your industry, just refine your search and continue to, like do those searching things and just like don't give up. Okay. All right. So I know we talked a little bit about like utilizing online search boards, but this is actually a really important part of internship searching and job searching as well, is developing your network. And so recent estimates indicate that over 60% of jobs are found through networking, and many jobs are actually found on the hidden job market. And this is a term used to describe when jobs aren't posted online or are ever advertised, but are found through word of mouth. Let's say someone at an organization needed someone to fill some type of role. Like, let's say they needed someone to do their social media account or maybe to do some bookkeeping, but they don't have the capacity to do it. And they also want to be able to hire an intern, maybe someone to help and learn with this process. Then this is a way where you can, before this even gets posted online, Like if someone knows, oh, I thought of that one student that I talked to last week that was interested in this type of role, then they automatically are like, oh, I never even thought about hiring someone for this as an intern. Then maybe you'd be a good intern for them to have, right? So you can kind of think about like, oh, okay, are they kind of missing a key point or a project that they don't have time to work on, but they could teach someone to do, and they could teach you to do, and you could help them do it, and then you could build your portfolio, build your skills, and then kind of utilize that as a way for you to get experience, and then you help out the company as well, right? And so, when you're networking, just think a little bit about like how you can um, sell your skills or talk about yourself so you can kind of access this hidden job market as well. So networking can be really helpful when you're wanting to stand out to an employer and kind of like making your case to get hired, right? So what you really want to do when you're networking is try to make a good impression with like an employer, an alumni, an industry professional, so that they remember you. And when you do have an opportunity to work with them, whether it's right now, 3 months from now, 1 year from now, that they still remember you, right? And that they're still interested in hiring you for some type of like internship and or work experience in the future. Okay, so how you can create connections is you can start with a phone call, email, LinkedIn message, or something like that, where you're just connecting with them, whether that's on like social media, like any way where you can get a direct connection, get introduced, get referred by somebody that who might know somebody that you want to talk to. Okay. And then networking in the US like may have different norms and customs that you're used to. In the US, typically people are very proactive when they are networking. Like they're very like individualized too. So they like making those personal connections. They usually like it when people are a little bit more like proactive in the sense that you are actively reaching out to them, asking questions. You're not kind of waiting on someone to like kind of lead you or mentor you along the way, if that makes sense. But even as a mentee, you want to be proactive as well and keep following up and write those thank you letters and things like that. Okay. So things to consider are like facial expression, body language, how you're dressing, um, your confident versus humble approach, and then how you greet people. So just think a little bit about like, how you feel comfortable or maybe not feel comfortable networking, and then what that may mean. Sometimes I think a lot like networking is really intimidating because people are like, well, networking is like strange because I'm going out there and talking to different people. But I like to describe networking more in the lens of like, networking is just talking to other people to learn more about them, and then you telling them a little bit about you, and then hopefully you make a connection, right? And so this is about more, I think, sense of connection and connecting yourself to the person that you're talking to the organization that they work for, and then connecting yourself to those roles, and then letting them know that you're like really interested and that you are paying attention to what they're saying. Okay, so it's about sense of connection. That's where I'm gonna kind of leave it at. But be open and be sensitive to sharing your experiences and engaging with employers because they're learning from you too. So offer whatever you want to tell them about yourself, and um, you know, focus more on your skills and experiences, and then demonstrate that you're really a qualified candidate for the internship and or job. Okay, so the next thing is just to utilize your resources again, like, schedule time to start researching and searching early because it can take a while. Sometimes students think, oh, finding an internship will take me 2 weeks, 1 day. No, for a lot of people, it actually takes months. And so you have to be patient. And if you're not hearing back after like a month, like sometimes it does take a couple of tries before you can get the internship. Some students get really lucky and they apply for one internship and they get it. Some students apply for 200 internships and they still don't get it. Okay. Not to discourage you. I'm just saying that, everyone's internship process is different. And so allow yourself some space to just be patient with it and to learn about how you can improve your process to figure out how it is you're going to move forward. Okay. And then think about your own skill set and what skills you have and what you want to develop when you're kind of choosing these internship opportunities. And then remember that you can always talk to academic advisor, career counselor, campus staff, OISS to kind of help you out with this process. And then again, as Trevor mentioned, a lot of the information about CPT is on their website. So make sure that you kind of like look on the website, follow the instructions, get all the paperwork that you need so that you follow all the guidelines properly and that you can get your internship and then everything works out, hopefully, right? Um, so Some tools for success, this part's really quick, so I'm just gonna go over it. But when you have an internship, you applied, got the internship, you interviewed, everything went well, now you have it. So what do you want to do? So you want to make sure that you make the most of your experience. And you want to dress like professionals in your industry. So, if in your industry people dress like suit and tie kind of thing, then that's kind of maybe what you want to dress like. If they are, t-shirts and jeans kind of company, then you also know that, right? You kind of like observe the industry that you're in and also the people that are around you, and then you decide for yourself, okay, what is the most appropriate dress for people that I'm working around, and how do I want to dress? Okay. And then be prompt, like, have your time managed well, be reliable. If you say you're going to do something, make sure that you follow through and you do it well. Project a positive attitude, be excited to have your internship. And then respect the organizational rules and communication differences. Sometimes it might be hard to understand, like, why someone thinks about something a certain way. But it's because we're all different people. We all have different background experiences and different ways of kind of like responding to things. And so just understanding, like, okay, sometimes like when you're working in a team, your team member might have a really different like background experience. You have really different background experience, and maybe you get frustrated in the conversation, or maybe they get frustrated in the conversation. But just understand that you all have the same goal of maybe trying to complete the project. And so if there are some kind of those like communication differences, just kind of try to work through them and try to understand people better, right? And understand yourself along the way. And then seek role clarification and feedback. Like if you end up with a whole bunch of like tasks and you're like, wait, why do I have so much work? Or why don't I have enough work? Like, I don't understand like what's going on. Then talk to your supervisor, make sure that you're getting feedback about, what things you want to get involved in. Can you get involved in those things? Can you develop your skills in these areas, right? Again, this has to go with that proactiveness, right? And so if you see like a project that you want to work on, ask if you can work on that project, right? Or if you're kind of like have some free time, ask if you can go interview someone in your organization that maybe you want to learn more about their job, right? So these are ways that you can kind of like take advantage of your internship experience. And then keep records of everything you do. Write down everything that you did during your internship, because your memory will kind of go away really quickly. You'll forget everything that you did. Um, it's easy to do that. So I tell students, make sure that you document it, you write it down, you write down a couple of highlights, a couple of bullet points about what was good, what was hard, what was the best like moment of your internship, what skills you did, what you did in your project, all that kind of stuff, right? So document those things so that you can remember when you are utilizing this internship for your future job search, okay? And then again, explore your career options. Think about things like doing those informational interviews that I keep talking about. Learn about what other people in your organization are doing. Ask for projects if it works for you, and then try new projects and experiences, because it's your internship. You want to make the most out of it, right? And then build your network. So again, try to find a mentor. Try to find a professional that you can connect with. Don't forget to like show gratitude for the opportunity, and to meet with your supervisor a lot to talk about your progress. And then ask for advice. Like this is a time where you can ask for advice from a lot of people who are industry professionals who have done this before and who are students at some point. So ask them for some advice about how you can launch your career. And then talk to your coworkers, develop relationship with them, especially if you're in a big internship experience and there's a lot of people from different universities. Ask about them, learn about their university, learn about what they're learning in class and how that compares to what you're learning, and then see what new things you might want to bring into your experience. And then always send a thank you note and a follow-up. Always follow up with people and try to maintain that connection, because you want to leave a positive impression on them. Show them that you paid attention to what they said, show them that you learned about them, and that you are like invested in the relationship as well. And then the last thing I want to talk about, this is kind of important, but I want to say, you can gain experience in a lot of ways. A lot of times students come in thinking, I want an internship. Number one priority. I'm having a hard time getting an internship, right? And the internship isn't like, it's a good thing to have, but you can also do other things to prepare for your internship and also gain a lot of great experience. So I encourage you to also do things like job shadowing and interviewing industry professionals to learn more about your future job. Volunteer as Trevor had mentioned before, volunteering can help you gain kind of like one-off experiences that then maybe could lead to an internship in a field. Student organizations and leadership, which I kind of talked a little bit about why that's really important for you, maybe on-campus jobs are a good option. Undergraduate research, which I also talked about. Personal and academic projects are also really great because if you are in a field that where you have to develop a lot of technical skills, sometimes doing these personal and academic projects can give you that practice that you need to gain the skills and then or the expertise or the proficiency. And then study abroad or study away. I know a lot of international students do this, like they might do UCDC or they might study abroad in not their home country, but like another country that they're interested in being at. I actually know one student who did this 3 times, and I'm like, why? But you get a chance to explore the world, so why not, right? And then trainings and certificates and online classes. So if you want to do like a training or a certificate, maybe UCSB offers a couple of professional certificates if you're interested in those, or if you want to do like an online class so you can gain more skills because UCSB maybe doesn't offer that class, then think about including that in your experience as well. And then it also shows employers that you're proactively learning. And then I also recommend students to do professional development activities. So let's say you're wanting to do maybe like a hackathon or maybe do like the new venture competition or attend a student conference where you're able to present. Like these are all really amazing like professional development activities that you can do to enhance your skills. And some of these are like equally as great as having an internship. So I highly recommend if you are like wanting an internship, these may be a little bit more accessible sometimes depending on which opportunity you're wanting to do. So I encourage you to look into some of this as an option for yourself. And then the last thing is questions. So we've kind of come to the end of the hour and we have a couple of questions in the Q&A. So feel free to input any questions that you may have. On a final note, like career services, like you can always email us if you have questions at careerhelp@sa.ucsb.edu or visit our website for more resources at career.ucsb.edu or OISS. You can email OISS at oiss@sa.ucsb.edu or oiss.ucsb.edu for their website. So just wanted to give you a chance to see our website and our email. So if you needed to contact us for any reason, yeah, so that's kind of it. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for now, and then so I can actually pull up the Q&A question.
Great. And I'm going to post the link to our CPT request form in the chat, and you can view all the requirements there as well as all the materials that you would need to submit.
Okay, so let's see. We have a couple of questions. I don't know what happened to my Q&A box. Trevor, can you find your Q&A box? Because I can't find my Q&A box. Oh, I
Yeah.
found it. Okay.
It pops up on a weird place if you have the 2 screens, I found out.
Yeah, okay, I found it. Okay, one of the questions is it normal to go for internships right after graduation and then go for a job? So some students do get post-graduation internships, so that could be an option. Um, it's it's more often times I think a lot of students get like entry-level opportunities, but it really depends on your field. So for some fields, it might be more common to get an internship, and for other fields, it might be more common to get a job, like a entry-level job. Um, can I do a gap year and work full-time internship? Can I? Yeah, a lot of people do like internship, like full-time internships as a gap year opportunity. So yes, you can take a gap year and do a full-time like internship during your gap year.
Right.
Do we need CPT for micro internships?
And if I could add on to that last
Mhm.
question, I would
Oh
just say
yeah.
that for the gap year, yeah, you would have to be doing it outside of the United States. So it's not possible to do a gap year and work a full-time internship inside of the United States, but you're definitely eligible to do that if you leave the country and most likely return to your own home country, but it could be in another country as well.
Wait, but I thought that they can do like OPT and that they could use that as their gap year, or are you thinking of something different?
No, unfortunately, they can't use OP. Well, so it would have to be after graduation. So you can definitely do that. Like once you graduate, you can engage in OPT for between 1 to 3 years.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't know if that's what they mean by gap year or if they mean like, before you graduate, taking a year off from your studies to do an internship. You can definitely do that, but it does have to be outside of the country. The OPT, it's kind of confusing because OPT, there actually is a pre-completion OPT, but we don't sponsor it. UCSB doesn't. It's really complicated, so we don't allow students to do that. We don't authorize it. So yeah, a gap year
Oh,
would have to be
yeah, I was reading that question a little bit differently. I think I was reading the question with if they're taking a gap year between grad school and undergraduate, can they do an internship between that year? Um, and you
yeah,
and yeah, and the answer is for that is yes.
which
Um,
you're definitely right about that. And
yeah.
I think in the US, well, actually, I think gap year is used other parts of the world too, but sometimes our students say gap quarter, and that would just mean like taking a quarter off.
Okay.
So we covered
Well,
all the
I guess
bases.
it depends how you're asking this question then. Um, for the person who asked it, I'm not going to say the name because we're recording, but yeah, so maybe some clarification on that particular. Oh, yeah, they meant gap quarter. So yes, then you're right.
Okay.
Yes, then ignore what I said earlier.
Well,
Okay.
we covered all the bases just in case.
Yeah, exactly. Do we need CPT for micro internships?
I would say yes.
Okay. And then Trump is making it harder for students to apply for the work visa. What should I do in order to ensure a job after graduation?
So thankfully for OPT, um, it's not a different visa. It's still under the F-1 visa, so you won't actually have to go through the visa application process, which is really good news. He is making it a little bit harder to apply for. I mean, not him directly, but his administration. They are making it harder to apply for OPT. Not necessarily additional requirements, but they're just being stricter about the pre-existing requirements. So I don't know, hopefully a week from now, there could be a slightly different answer. I'm not going to state my political affiliation, but our current administration is making it a little bit harder for international students, and potentially a slightly different administration would make it a little bit easier. But again, I'm not going to get into my own political affiliations. So what should you do to ensure a job after graduation? For if you're just applying for OPT, the process should remain the same, regardless of who is currently president. When you're getting into H-1B territory, I would just say, working with your employer to apply for the H-1B as early as possible. So a lot of students will get hired and then we'll apply for OPT. And then as soon as they're hired for OPT, they'll start applying for H-1B. It's currently right now it's a lottery-based system. It actually might change, but you can apply once a year. And so, students will apply their first year as soon as they're hired for OPT, and then they'll apply every year after until they can get H-1Bs.
Yeah, and I just want to encourage folks like people are still getting jobs right now. I've seen international students still get jobs and internships. And so if you're kind of questioning like, okay, what should I do? Like some of the things that I talked about, like getting experience, like gaining those skills, practicing maybe your English, like if you wanted to get a job in the US and needed, really strong communication skills. Um, or even things like doing like projects, getting leadership positions, research, like all this stuff just helps add to your portfolio and help you be a stronger candidate for when you're applying for jobs, right? So and so getting the internship, doing the research, getting involved in student organizations, like practicing your interviewing skills, practicing your applications, like writing applications, like submitting resumes, reaching out to people, like improving upon that can really help you like with this process. Okay, like the hardest thing is if you start really late, right? But it's still possible, but it's just harder, right? So the earlier you start, the better it is for you. Okay. um, so the next question is, Trevor mentioned that you need to be enrolled in a special course to do an internship through CPT. Does this mean we would need to enroll in summer session to do an internship over the summer?
Yes, I believe you do. I would just recommend talking to your academic advisor, and they can inform you of that exact process. But yeah, it's typically around 1 unit. And thankfully, over the summer, it's like the discounted fees. So it should only be like a couple $100. So yeah, definitely talk to your academic advisor about that.
Okay, so I don't see any more questions, but we are at the end of the hour, so we utilized that time really well. And so I thank you all for coming. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to either one of our offices. We're here to help you and support you in your internship search process and to clarify any questions that you may have about applying for internships and about CPT. So thank you all for being with us for this hour, and we wish you a really amazing, awesome day. So thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everybody, and thank you, Carol, for hosting us.
Of course. Okay. All right. Okay.